Hi guys, welcome to our class discussion for the subject, the teacher and the school curriculum. For today's video, we will talk about curriculum implementation, together with the models of implementation, the change processes, and lastly about institutionalization. This topic would be really relevant nowadays since we have here the news guys, yesterday pa to, December 14 from Philippine Daily Inquirer. I hope na narinig nyo or nabasa nyo man lang sa news that K-12 blamed for low math and science ranks. So let's find out. This is actually one of the saddest news na naririnig natin or makikita natin as educators. This news is about the failed K-12 program of the Department of Education is to blame for the dismal ratings of Filipino students in a recent international assessment for mathematics and science, a lawmaker said on Sunday. ACT Teachers Representative Franz Castro said that K-12 congested curriculum was a failure, resulting in grade 4 students from the Philippines recording the lowest scores among the participants from 58 countries in the Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study of 2019 or tinatawag nilang TIMSS. It's so sad to hear about this news or to read about it, guys, that Filipino students, yung grade 4 students natin ay nasa lowest rank among 54 countries 58 countries na sumali dito sa TIMSS na to. 'Di ba parang saan tayo nagkulang pag nakikita natin 'yan? And this is according to the news. Imagine that one, guys, that was last year. But then, hanggang ngayon ay nagiging issue pa rin siya. And we can't blame them. And of course, this is education. Kailangan naman talaga ng mga reforms or dapat pagbibigyan natin siya ng pansin. Hindi tayo hayaan na lang mangyari itong mga bagay na ganito. Kasi it's for the students diba? Students are the future. And we have here naman guys, ang explanation nila bakit ang K-12 yung biniblame nila. Because DepEd's incompetence immensely impacts daw yung teachers and students' performance. The poor performance of Filipino students in the TIMS marks the failure of DepEd's K-12 program. That's what Castro said in a statement. Kasi nga daw, yung mga outputs daw ng DepEd's incompetence implementation of the so-called education is the curriculum congestion, which compromises adequate teaching time daw, tapos yung students' deeper understanding. This is worsening under the case of the blended learning. Totoo yan guys, lalo na ngayon na blended yung learning, more on modular, at wala ng face-to-face muna na klase. This would really be an issue. Imagine that one last year. Tapos, kahit totok yung mga teacher before, last year, diba, bago nagkaroon ng pandemic, how much more today na merong pandemic, diba? Module na yung mga students natin. But do you think students really learn math or science? Nag-improve ba talaga yung mga bata? Kasi this would really still be an issue. Kasi ito yung the reason na bakit nila binabalita kahit last year pa to na result is that they reiterated that they need to abolish the K-12 program and urge the government to create a curriculum that will meet the needs of the society and to invest more in education so we can address the issues of quality education. Ayun, di natin sila masisisi if they are asking for more or even if they wanted us to create a new curriculum. And let's imagine guys kung gaano kahaba yung process na yan bago tayo makakagawa ng bagong curriculum. Kasi if they wanted to have reforms for it, there should be lots of researches or may mga valid sila na mga ebidensya na pwedeng makita why is it that we need to have a reform or to create a new curriculum that will meet the needs of the society. Kasi nga, you know guys, K-12 curriculum is really a good thing that happened in our education. Kasi it makes us more competitive to other countries pag nag-a-apply tayo sa ibang bansa. And we discussed it on the past lessons, diba, ng ating school curriculum na to. And this one, guys, I hope that after this discussion, you'll be able to realize and reflect if it's really the K-12 program na dapat nating sisihin about the low scores of the students. And ito naman yung sagot ng DepEd Department, guys, ni Briones, the secretary, na nangyari. That's last year pa naman to na nangyari. Ito yung sagot nila. That K-12 not to blame for Pinoy's poor test scores. Since the poor performance of Filipino students in reading comprehension, science, and mathematics in a recent international student assessment is not due to the K-12 program. That's according to Education Secretary Leonor Brion said. In the interview, according to her, the chiefs aired on Signal TV1 News on Thursday that it is too early daw, guys, to assess the impact of the senior high school program since it has only been implemented for 3 years. Totoo naman talaga, hindi naman basta-basta makikita yung epekto ng curriculum agad-agad, lalo na pag nai-implement pa lang siya for 3 years. K plus 12 needs to be reviewed, but it is not the cause of the low ranking, according to Briones, referring to the reform program that added 2 years to basic education in the country. Ngayon ay pag-aaralan natin yung about sa curriculum implementation kaya sinasabi kong significant siya for nowadays. Kasi you as future educators, kayo talaga rin mag-check or aalamin nyo as one of the implementers ng, as one of the part of ng DepEd na pag bibigyan natin ng curriculum program, lalo na tayo yung mga teachers or educators that will make this K-12 program impossible and become more successful. Kasi tayo yung nasa heart ng curriculum since we are the one talking or assessing our students. And before we start, guys, about this curriculum implementation, about what it is or bakit or ano yung mga different types of models na pwedeng nating gamitin. At the end of the meeting or for this video, guys, you'll be able to demonstrate the knowledge of curriculum planning, yung design and organization, implementation, evaluation, and improvement. And lastly, you'll be able to prepare developmentally sequenced lesson plans with well-aligned learning outcomes and competencies based on curriculum requirements. Kasi ito yung sinasabi ko, tayo yung mag-send ng ating curriculum, tayo ang naka-assign dyan, or tayo yung nasa, heart ng curriculum kung saan tayo yung magkakaroon ng interaction and we will be the one to deliver the curriculum itself. What is curriculum implementation? Implementation is an interaction, guys, between the who have created the program and those who are charged to deliver it. So, I really disagree dun sa sinabi kanina sa balita ng representative, although siguro may point din siya. But for this moment, guys, talking about curriculum implementation, it's actually both ng sinong gumawa ng program, about DepEd, and also the teachers who are charged to deliver it. Kasi tayo yung nasa in charge mag-deliver to make that curriculum possible, making all those plans, mga planning, make it possible, at to make sure na namimit talaga yung mga objectives since we are the teachers or educators na magtuturo sa mga bata. And implementation requires educators to shift from the current program which they are familiar with to the new or modified program. Kaya sobrang laki talaga din ng budget na nilalaan ng ating bansa, ng gobyerno sa ating education. Since this is one of the mahalaga naman talaga sa atin bilang isang Filipino, diba? And this one, guys, yung implementation pa lang. Kaya diba sinabi ko, hindi basta-basta na magkakaroon ng reforms or changes sa curriculum kasi it take a lot of planning ng mga experts at dapat may mga valid evidences pa sila na ipapakita or more on researches pa to make sure na hindi na naman tayo magkamali sa pagkakaroon ng changes, diba? It's so hard to implement ng curriculum just for trial and error. Mas maganda yung tried and tested na talaga at alam natin na maganda yung maging effect. Because I was one of the teachers talaga guys na dito sa kasagsagan na na-implement tong K-12 program even during my college days ay tinuturo na sa amin or tinitrain na kami on how to follow yung curriculum na yun at paano i-deliver yun. And I attended lots of seminars and trainings bago ako nakapagturo para to make sure na mamimit talaga yung objectives at mapafollow kung ano man yung gusto ng ating K-12 curriculum na yun. So the same as this, if they want some changes or magkaroon man sila ng planning ulit, it would really, that educators, sila talaga mismo ang tinitrain or dinidevelop to make sure na nadideliver at mas magiging maganda yung effect ng pinapatupad ng ating gobyerno or ng DepEd. Now, implementation involves changes in the knowledge, actions, and attitudes of people. So, imagine that one, guys. Hindi lang yung knowledge ang nag-change once they want to implement a new curriculum, but even the actions and attitudes. Kaya it takes workshops, trainings talaga. Hindi lang nagbabasa or pinag-aaralan yung mga yung knowledge or information about it. And I have here yung attitudes talaga. Pag K-12, I have here an example. What type of curriculum? K-12 is learner-centered. So, kaya ang nangyayari, ang content is 40%, tapos yung performance would only be 60%. Kaya, dun sa performance, learner-centered, to let the students do or to develop yung mga skills or more in action saka attitude, hindi lang talaga sa knowledge ang dinidevelop. And the implementation can be seen as a process of professional development and growth involving ongoing interactions, feedback, and assistance. Totoo yan. Kaya, medyo tama din sila dun sa point na sinisisa din nila yung DepEd or the one who implemented the curriculum kasi yung about nga daw sa pagkakaroon ng incompetence. Kasi they really have that great impact or meron silang great responsibility about it kasi sila yung dapat na tinitingnan yung development. Dapat nagkakaroon ng interactions, ongoing dapat yan, feedback, tapos nagbibigay ng assistance. Kasi sabi nila, ang reason naman daw bakit yung DepEd ang sinisisi nila because of its incompetence. And talking about assistance naman talaga ay meron ding mga nagkakaproblema. And do you think there is an ongoing interaction? Of course, meron naman ding mga observations sa mga klase ng mga teachers. And then, nagbibigay din sila ng feedback about it. And since dito naman, and guys, by the way, I would really love to hear from you. You can comment or share with our class kung meron kayong kakilala na nagtatrabaho talaga sa DepEd and or mga teachers from the DepEd, kung ano ba talaga yung reaction nila about it. Kung ang DepEd ba talaga or sino ba talagang dapat na sisihin? Or do we need to blame others or even the K-12 program for the lowest scores? Do you think tama naman si Briones na hindi naman talaga ang K-12? And does it really need a lot of years pa muna bago natin masasabi na incompetent or hindi effective yung K-12 program? For this moment, dito sa implementation na to, later on, ay malalaman natin or ma-realize natin na hindi lang pala talaga. Dapat ang curriculum ang ating sisihin. So, let's find out. And we have here, guys, the implementation requires a supportive atmosphere in which there is a trust and open communication between administrators, teachers, educators, and where risk-taking is encouraged. I do love this one kasi yung mga trainings na binigay before ng government, yung mga national seminars to the teachers talaga, they're asking if they agree the K-12 program or kaya pinapakita muna nila yung mga subjects or anong tawag yun? Yung framework ng K-12 for them to ask questions. And even yung college ako, I remember the time na during na nagbibigay ng seminar, I asked about the the speaker, kung paano ba talaga na-assess ng ating education or paano matutulungang ma-assess yung ating mga estudyante to make sure na napipili nila yung tamang strand nila. So, it was answered naman, but then, however, 'di ba, one of the problems na nangyari ngayon sa college talaga, this is a reality that happened, na minsan yung bata, ang subject niya ay STEM. Tapos biglang graduate siya as STEM student. Tapos biglang nung college gustong magturo. 'Di ba? It's somewhat like nakakaiba talaga. Kasi sasabihin ng bata, undecided pa po kasi ako nung senior high school, but then now in college, ay nakikita ko nga na dito pala ako magaling. So that's one of the problems. However, meron din namang support na binigay yung government or even yung mga colleges by giving mga subjects, nag-o-offer sila ng mga subjects before sila makakapasok doon sa course na yun or program na yun. So, that's a good thing. However, aanhin yung pinag-aralan ng mga bata ng senior high school naman talaga, 'di ba? Kung yun yung sila tinitrain for, tas biglang mag-iiba sila ng course ng college. So, kaya talaga, high school pa lang ay tinitrain na yung bata or even elementary pa lang, guys, kung anong ba talaga yung gusto nila. Or mas maganda talaga, since bata pa sila ay natitrain na or naaalam na kung ano ba talaga yung gustong hobby ng bata or yung mga specific skills kung saan siya magaling. And successful implementation of curriculum requires understanding the power relationship, the traditions, the roles, and responsibilities of individuals in the school system. Kaya guys, talking about this implementation ng curriculum, if you want to understand more about K-12 program, I hope na napanood nyo yung video na to. Before this video, you'll review yung first video about the K-12 curriculum, kung paano nila ini-implement yung specific na curriculum na yon. And it should be, kasi nung first year kayo dapat naituro na yun sa inyo or naituro ko na yun sa inyo. But as a review, I hope na mapanood niyo din. Kasi doon nung nakikita na there are lots of considerations talaga na binibigay about the curriculum sa tradition pa lang, sa role and responsibilities of individuals in the school system. Hindi lang sa responsibilidad ng mga administrators or educators, but even to the students and parents or even the community to make sure na yung curriculum implementation ay mas nagiging successful. And implementers, whether they be teachers, guys, principals, district education officers, should be well versed with the contents of the curriculum. Tama yan, kasama yan sa first video, sana napanood nyo about content ng curriculum. And they must be clear of the purpose, the nature, and the real and potential benefits of the innovation. Kaya, ito talaga, dun sa first video, diba, diniscuss ko na ang K-12 curriculum talaga ay sobrang maraming benefits, kaya nga siya pinatupad ng ating gobyerno or ng DepEd. Kasi, we are one of the, para mas magiging competitive ang ating mga students globally. Kasi, yun naman yung aim na meron ng objectives ang ating, ang ating education eh. How could we meet that, objectives kung hindi naman natin pinapatupad na maging competitive mismo yung mga bata natin sa ibang bansa, 'di ba? So, yun, dapat alam natin yung purpose and the nature, and I hope that you will defend it as educators kung ano yung kagandahan din na meron ang K-12 program. And approaches on curriculum implementation, guys. Ito naman tayo. May maraming approaches to. So, ano ba talaga yung nagawa ng DepEd or for the teachers? Paano ini-implement or anong approach ba talaga ginamit nila? So, there are two extreme views about curriculum implementation. The first one, guys, is laissez-faire approach or the let-alone approach. When we say laissez-faire, this is actually a French phrase that translates to leave us alone. So, hinahayaan. They're somewhat like democratic lang. And this gives the teachers absolute power to determine what they see best to implement in the classroom In effect, this allows teachers to teach lessons they believe are appropriate for their classes and in whatever way they want to teach such lessons. There is no form of control or monitoring whatsoever. Of course, that's impossible na gagawin yan ngayon sa K-12 program. Lalo na, sabi ko nga, it's ongoing eh. Sabi ni Briones nga, di ba, hindi naman talaga nakikita agad-agad yung result and we could not judge directly within the years na bago pa lang ni-implement. Kasi, ayun nga, kailangan talaga siya na na-assess, kailangan siyang bibigay ng feedback, and also support for the educators. So, dito sa laissez-faire, ay hindi siya pwede sa K-12 curriculum. Kasi, kailangan talaga ng monitoring from the DepEd or from the administrators para makita kung sumusunod ba talaga yung teachers sa curriculum na pinapatupad. However, dito naman kasi guys sa laissez-faire, there are lots of advantages kasi dito na-apply talaga yung academic freedom, kung ano man yung gustong ituro ng teacher, kung ano yung mahalaga. However, there are disadvantages kasi paano mo nga naman talaga makikita kung sumusunod siya sa main objectives ng school, ng vision, mission ng school, 'di ba? Kung hahayaan lang, there's no such thing as monitoring. Are you sure as administrator na nagtuturo ba talaga ng maayos yung teacher, or are you sure na nagpo-follow ba talaga sa vision and mission ng ating school? Kasi even if maraming natutunan yung mga students, but then we were not able to live the vision and mission of the school, it's somewhat like nonsense, diba? Kasi yun yung plano ng school eh, tapos hindi pala basta-bastang natutupad just because the teachers are not following the curriculum. Then the second one, guys, is authoritarian control. In this view naman, teachers are directed by the authority figures through a memorandum to follow a curriculum. Teachers have no control or leeway over the subjects they are teaching. The school head exercises absolute power in directing teachers to teach certain subjects in specified ways. In other words, this approach is a dictatorial way of imposing curricular implementation in the classroom. So, meron din siyang advantages, meron ding disadvantages. Because teachers will not be teachers kung hindi sila sumusunod or following the orders or memorandum na binibigay ng mga higher authorities. However, there are still positive effects kasi in this way, nagiging synchronous or sumusunod ang lahat ng teachers sa curriculum na pinapatupad. And meron talagang discipline to make sure na ang teachers are really guided well. However, teachers are teachers. Minsan kasi yung yun nga, because of the diversity of our students, iba-iba tayo na estudyante, at ikaw teacher, alam mo kung sino man sila. And sometimes naapektuhan yung philosophy ng teachers. So, aralan natin yan last discussion guys kung ikaw existentialist, tapos yung curriculum na pinapatubad sa school mo, tapos more on authoritarian control, ay gusto nila maging essentialist ka. Tuturo mo to lahat ng subjects na to or itong lahat ng topics na to, dapat ma-meet mo yan bago matapos yung year. So, diba, it would really affect yung sa teaching strategies ng isang teacher din talaga. So, same thing, may advantages even if it's laissez-faire na kung saan nahiyaan na yung teacher. At dito naman sa kung sobrang control naman yung teacher. So, mas maganda yung balance yung both. Yung meron din academic freedom yung mga teachers natin. And then, we have here the implementation models, guys, according to Ornstein and Hankins in the year 1988, describes the several changes and models that are worthwhile exploring. The models include, among the others, the first one is overcoming resistance to change model, or we call it as ORC, the leadership obstacle course model, LOC, and lastly, yung linkage model. So again, merong overcoming resistance to change. Tapos meron ding leadership. And the fourth one is organizational development model. And lastly, the run change agent model. So merong 5 model na pwede natin gamitin in terms of implementation. So We have here, each model requires a multitask approach. Each strategy has certain elements which conform to the following suggestion of Reyes on the year 1985 for the successful implementation of changes in the school system. The first one, clarification of lines of authority. Second one is involvement of affected parties in goal setting, staff selection, and evaluation. And then the specification of rules and responsibilities of teachers. Dito din ay, ayan, clarifications, the training of personal and change strategies and conflict resolution techniques. So, yun sinasabi ko na dapat nagbibigay sila ng training lalo na pag bagong implement pa lang yung curriculum. Kasi sila yung nagde-deliver ng curriculum and without them, it would not be successful at all. Tapos yung support to affected parties. Kaya yung DepEd talaga or yung higher authority should always have a support, lalo na pag bagong implementation yung curriculum. But of course, if you really wanted to improve it always, nagkakaroon ng innovation sa ating curriculum, mas maganda talaga pag palaging may training or support na nakukuha ng ating mga educators from the administrators. What the suggestions emphasize is the need to promote and operationalize the idea through the active environment in the change process. Yun, dapat meron tayong active environment, lalo na during the change process. Because we all know, guys, diba, during the time na pinatupad talaga yung K-12, ay sobrang daming parents or students na nagdi-disagree about this type of curriculum kasi nga madadagdagan na naman, dagdag gastos na naman at pahirap dun sa mga students imbes na mga pagtrabaho sila ng mas maaga. So, that's what dapat binibigay natin during implementation time. And dito din pala sa specification of rules and responsibilities, dapat alam kung ano ba talaga yung responsibility ng isang teacher. Dapat mong sabihin sa kanila. Kasi minsan, di ba, baka sinisisi lang natin sila without giving them or letting them know na responsibility din pala nila yung mga actions na ganito. Okay? You have to always let them know. Kaya mahirap yung hula-hula na lang or hihintayin natin na magkaroon ng responsibilidad yung mga teachers. Lalo na pag ang teachers ay sobrang daming ginagawa. Even tapos ang dami-dami pang estudyante na dapat i-consider, hindi lang naman isa, 'di ba? Sobrang dami. And ORC focuses on overcoming, guys, yung staff resistance to change that is present immediately before or at the time of the introduction of innovation. Totoo yan. There are even teachers na nagdi-disagree talaga before bago ipatupad yung K-12 curriculum. However, dapat yung DepEd or higher authorities should provide more trainings hanggang sa they will overcome yung resistance nila. Kasi how will they work for the education or for the school, diba? Kung meron pa rin silang resistance to change kung ayaw naman nilang sumunod, mas lalong pabigat talaga siya sa department or sa school mismo. Kasi dapat nga educators are the one who will support talaga the education department or kung ano man yung plano ng ating gobyerno about it. Kasi sabi nga, diba, sa Code of Ethics, that teachers should have higher dignity, tapos sumusunod din sa kung ano man yung gustong ipatupad ng government. Kasi we are part of the implementers or we are the one to deliver the curriculum itself. So, malaking epekto yung way ng pag-i-implement nila kung hindi tayo sumusunod. Kaya maganda yung ORC na model na ginagawa nila. Nahiyaan nila na mag-overcome muna yung resistance ng ating mga teachers. And then, LOC or yung leadership, guys, extends the ORC model and puts emphasis on the gathering of the data to determine the extent and nature of the resistance in order to deal with it appropriately. Honestly, guys, during my time of study, during ng college, I really do disagree about implementing such K-12 program. But after a lots of seminars na attended and workshops, ay masasabi ko na maganda talaga yung K-12 program. However, there are some instances na nagiging idealistic siya in a way na ang ganda ideally talaga ng plano. However, sa realidad talaga, hindi talaga siya basta-bastang nami-meet kasi there are instances na halimbawa, pag sobrang daming activities ng school, hindi natatapos yung essential topics na dapat ituro ng teachers. And since it's spiral curriculum nga, minsan, nung first year, hindi naturo yung topic na to. Tapos nung second year, kung kailan na magiging ididip na dapat yung yung subject nila, the deepening of the topic, hindi na nila natuturo ng teachers ng maayos kasi tinuro ng first year. So, mag-a-adjust. They have to, babalik na naman sila dun sa certain topic na yon. So, somewhat like that. But however, I do love those teachers na naging talaga, who were very strict to follow it, na dapat masunod nila yung pagtuturo na to. Kaya mas maganda rin na isang teacher lang, there's an advantage. Pag isang teacher lang, 'di ba, ang nagturo sa subject mo sa science, siya na yung sa first year, second year, kasi nakokontrol niya, alam niya yung time na, hindi ko pa naturo to sa mga batang to. So, I have to adjust. Kasi minsan nahihirapan yung bata kasi hindi naman tinuro during the time na first year sila. Tapos, nung second year ay mahirap-hirap na yung subject. So, ayun yung mga negative or sobrang daming advantages din talaga ang K-12. So, let's find out more kung tayo lang ba ang teacher tsaka administrators or ang DepEd ang dapat sisihin about the low scores na meron yung ating mga Filipino students, lalo na yung grade 4 students natin last year. A linkage process involves a cycle of diagnosis, search and retrieval, formulation of solution, dissemination, and evaluation. OD is an information processing change strategy that enables the system to improve its operation and the quality of interaction among its members to facilitate the introduction of change. Yun naman talaga, kahit minsan, di ba, kikita natin sa mga balita or even sa gobyerno, kung meron silang pinapatupad na batas, ay marami talagang nagkakaroon ng resistance of change or ayaw nila na mangyari yung mga batas na yan. Maraming nagdi-disagree. Yung ito, ang ROD or the RAND, the RAND model naman is based on the assumption that the success of the implementation of the new programs depends on. So ito, the first one is the characteristics of the proposed change. Maganda ba? Or ano yung mga advantages na nakikita? So dapat ay maging appealing siya to the educators or even to the parents para susunod talaga sila. Kasi pag characteristics pa lang ng ino-offer mo ay wala, bagsak na, how will you let those people, diba, sumunod, and how will you cut the resistance kung wala naman talagang magandang pwedeng mangyari. Kaya diba ang K-12 ay magandang program siya kasi for the students to become globally competitive at para mas maging tayo, kasi nag-iisa na lang tayo sa Asia na hindi pa nagpapatupad ng K-12 program before. And the competencies of the teaching and administrative staff. So, dapat talaga gusto mo yung competent enough yung mga teachers, then provide them trainings, diba? And then the support of the local community. Totoo yan. Hindi dapat nagkaroon ng linkage talaga or dapat support din ng community about giving education to students. Kasi pag hindi, how will it be successful? So, ito yung sa RAND model lang to ha. And the next is the school organization structure. So, paano yung structure na meron ng isang school to make sure na sumusunod ba talaga ang teachers? Is there a monitoring or giving feedback or support dun sa mga teachers na yun or yung kasama sa pag-implement at pag-deliver ng ating curriculum? The choice of what implementation model to use depends on such factors. Kung ikaw yung DepEd Secretary or kayo yung assigned to choose what would be the best implementation model, ito yung mga factors na i-consider nyo. And you as educators, future educators, need to be familiar with this so that hindi lang ang DepEd ang ating dapat sisihin or ang teachers ang mga dapat sisihin about this, okay? The first one is level of resistance. Kung sobrang bigat or daming nagdi-disagree talaga, ay wag natin i-implement yon. Kasi mahirap yon pag-implement. As halos lahat, 80% ay nagdi-disagree about it. Kaya diba yung talking about academic freeze, sobrang daming kumakalat nga na balita or even sa Facebook, di ba, maraming bata or even one of you ay nagsasabi din talaga to freeze, nagkakaroon ng academic freeze talaga. And some other schools offer it, nagsulat pa talaga sila sa CHED, nagsulat pa sa DepEd to make sure na must-stop. However, guys, this is a good thing that happened na you can't blame them kung para sa'yo nagdi-disagree ka pero nagpatuloy pa rin yung CHED or DepEd. So, dapat ba natin silang sisihin? Of course not. Kasi ito yung mga kinoconsider talaga nila yung mga factors na to, yung level of resistance. Ilan lang kayo sa 10 bata, 3 lang yung nagrereklamo na magkaroon ng academic freeze. Of course, they really need to consider kung sino yung majority na nag-agree or gustong sumunod. Kasi, pag ganun, halimbawa, pero minsan naman, they consider the students na yung mga minor na ayaw talagang mag-aral or they agree with the academic freeze. However, yung DepEd or dun sa CHED na nalaman ko, ay magsisend talaga sila ng mga research. And then, kasi totoo yun kailangan mo nang ma-prove nila yung mga reklamo na binibigay nila, 'di ba? Kasi, how are they going to Kasi merong implementers marami ding nag-a-agree. Paano nila mape-present yung idea na yan na i-disagree or dapat magkaroon ng academic freeze if there's no such valid reasons, 'di ba? So, dapat, ganun yung process nila. Nakikita dapat nila yung mga ebidensya. Hindi sila basta-bastang nagdedesisyon just because other people or 30% of the students disagree about it, implementing about it. And then the type of desired change, of course, dapat alam natin kung anong specific change na gusto nating mangyari para mas clear din dun sa mga implementers or the one who will deliver and will accept the model or yung curriculum na yun. And then the available expertise, ayun, kaya tinitrain talaga to make sure na expert na yung maging teachers. And that's one of the characteristics naman talaga and demands of the society for the teachers about their professional, yung profession nila is yung pagiging expert na isang teacher sa subject matter. And the available resources, kaya, yun nga, minsan may part din na nagkakaroon ng idealistic yung K-12 curriculum because kasi nationwide naman siya, di ba? But for those, how about those places or community na malayo sa city, di ba? So, yun, minsan nahihirapan sila sa mga resources. So, there are still adjustment that is needed to be done. And then, the urgency of the situation, yun, dapat may urgency tayo for it. And I do love it kasi, ayun, kaya nga may teachers, yung they wanted to hear or inaya nila yung public makapag-listen sa kanila about it. Yung kanina nga, diba, it's although last year pa siya na nangyari na sobrang baba ng estudyante, but still nowadays, kung alam nila na need talaga ng urgency of that situation. Kasi ngayon, diba, it's blended learning na. So, how much more, paano makikita or malalaman ng teacher na kung ang bata ba talaga ay nakaintindi sa math or sa science, kung ang mga parents naman talaga nagsasagot sa curriculum or dun sa module ng mga bata, di ba? Kaya, there's always an urgency of the situation. Pag sa education, kasi halimbawa, pag K-12, tapos sasabihin nila, i-reform agad nila, babaguhin agad nila. What will happen to the students who are still in senior high school, 'di ba? Tapos ano 'yun? Unfair naman yun sa kanila pag tatapusin nila yung grade 12 nila or senior high school nila tapos next year ay yung mga fourth year students ay kaklase na nila, 'di ba? So, that's one of the pwedeng magiging problema pag nagkakaroon na naman ng changes or kung ayaw na nila dun sa K-12 program. So, there are long process bago muna tayo magde-decide ng mga changes na yan. And these models are really significant for us to be guided and before we try to make changes. And then, the factors, guys, na nag-influence ng curriculum implementation, first one is the teachers. Without doubt, guys, the most important person talaga in the curriculum implementation process is the teacher. Ito yung sinasabi ko na ang teacher talaga yung pinaka-heart or center ng implementation. Kasi sila yung magde-deliver 'di ba? And then teachers are central to any curriculum improvement effort. Totoo yan. Better teachers foster better learning. Kaya, mas magaling yung teacher, mas maganda talaga yung learning. But, however, tandaan natin hindi lang teacher na naman ang dapat sisihin. And teachers are most knowledgeable about the practice of teaching and are responsible for introducing yung curriculum sa classroom. Kasi sila yung nasa harap ng mga bata sila yung nakakaalam. Kaya during implementation talaga ng isang curriculum, need din talaga ng DepEd to listen from the teachers kasi sila yung nasa realidad 'di ba? Kung sila yung nasa plano, they have to ask the teachers kung ano ba tuloy nangyayari. Kasi minsan yung mga plano natin, sobrang hirap palang abutin lalo na pag nasa reality na tayo, 'di ba? And then, ito pang isang factors guys, aside from the teachers, are I will give an additional about teachers pala. The key to getting teachers committed to an innovation is to enhance their knowledge of the program. This means teachers need to be trained and workshops have to be organized for professional development. Kaya nagkakaroon na ng mga CPD before ka mag-renew ng license mo, ay kailangan mo munang magkaroon ng lots of trainings or seminars or workshops. So, I also discussed it in the first video na dapat talaga binibigyan ng training. Kaya, before ka maging lisensyadang teacher ulit, ay kailangan mo talagang mag-gain ng points. It could be attending seminars, trainings, or mas maganda din na mag-apply ka for master's degree or for doctorate degree para mas makita talaga na araw-araw nag-i-improve yung teachers. Kasi we are not always at the beginning teacher. Dapat maging proficient teacher tayo and become the distinguished teacher na kung saan tayo na yung magbibigay ng mga reforms or plans about the changes or making our education better. And another factor, guys, are some topics to be addressed in designing professional development opportunities for teachers who are implementing a new program. First one is program philosophy. It is important for teachers to understand both the philosophy behind the program as well as how the new programming impacts students, parents, administrators, and other stakeholders. Pinag-aralan pa nga natin, di ba, kung ano yung philosophy na gusto mo in the future as a teacher. However, for this type of factors, guys, kung may specific curriculum talaga na pinapatupad ang ating DepEd or ating mga administrators, kailangan nating sumunod or makita kung ano yung pinaka-program philosophy so that it will be clear enough at hindi na nagkakaroon ng resistance from the teachers itself. And the content also, guys, ito yung ituturo din for the trainings. Teachers may find the curriculum introduces content with which they are unfamiliar, which they have not taught in a while, where is familiar but presented in an unfamiliar way. And for example, using a problem-solving approach rather than a topical approach. Yan. The content, sobrang dami niyan, guys. Lalo na pag bago ulit yung content. Kasi minsan, di ba, dati nasanay lang na ang subjects ay ganito lang or focusing more on general information lang. But nung K-12, dahil spiral siya, dapat namamaster pa unti-unti hanggang magiging expert yung ating mga student. Kaya siya nagiging learner-centered. But still, performance pa rin yung pinakamalaking pinagbabasihan. And of course, guys, yung pedagogy, dapat ituro din to sa mga teachers. They need to have opportunities to become familiar with the new program's pedagogical approach. They need to work on particular teaching skills, emphasizing the new program, such as teaching of values, or perhaps to become familiar with a tool such as the internet. Kasi nga, pag bago na namang curriculum, malaking budget na naman ang dapat ibigay ng gobyerno sa education. Kasi hindi lang siya basta-bastang curriculum. Of course, the teachers need to be trained well sa program na yun. And I've been one of it. Imagine that one, halos every year. Halimbawa, yung school ay magsisend na representative to national type of training or yung mga ano talaga, mamahaling training para lang ma-master nila yung K-12 program na yan. And then, those teachers naman na nakapag-train doon, sila na naman magbibigay ng training to the new teachers or doon sa all the teachers in the school na kung saan man sila napabilang. Kasi ituturo nila yung ano ba yung type of pedagogy, paano ba ituro yung curriculum na to. Is it more on learner-centered or dapat ba maging teacher-centered na siya yung magkocontrol lahat? Kasi sobrang daming skills na gusto talaga na mangyari ng ating K-12 program. So, dapat matrain yung mga educators for it. And the components of the program, of course, teachers will need opportunities to learn about the components of the new program early in the implementation phase. For example, the new program might place meter emphasis on school-based assessment, while teachers are more accustomed to national or centralized na assessment. I discussed it on the first na video then about the components of the program. So, sana naintindihan nyo yun, na hindi lang reading comprehension ang dinidevelop, even yung mga study skills ng bata, yung development ng vocabulary nila, diba? So, there are 7 of it na skills na dapat nating ituro sa kanila. And then, the learners, guys, aside from the teacher, of course, yung learner ang factors ng influence ng curriculum implementation. Kaya, hindi lang dapat DepEd, ang isisihin natin are the teachers. So, let's find out about the learners. There is a tendency among curriculum implementers to ignore the role of students as agent of change. Totoo yan. Minsan, ini-ignore lang natin yung role ng mga students. Increasingly, there is the realization that even primary school children can contribute to meaningful change. Students must be willing to participate in the program. That's true. If students not see the relevance of the program, there is a likelihood that they will not be motivated to participate or learn. Totoo yan. Kung di na nakikitaan yung magandang idea about it or parang wala naman sila nakikitang kagandahan sa curriculum na yan, how will they agree with it? Kasi yung iba, ayaw ko na mag-aral kung ganyan din naman pala. Sumbuting magtrabaho na lang. Of course, diba? Kaya isa din siya sa magiging factor ng influence ng pag-i-implement ng curriculum. And I would love to share this with you. Before kasi, I heard about this news, sad news na isang teacher na kung saan daw, doon sa specific school na tinuruan niya, ay may problema daw or ang sobrang hirap i-disiplina yung mga bata ng isang teacher, lalo na sa private school. Kasi I heard na may isang parent daw, may isang nanay na tinuruan yung anak niya na wag daw makinig doon sa teacher or isusumbong daw palagi kung ano yung mga mali na ginagawa ng teacher doon sa nanay. Kasi tapos nung tinanong yung bata, ang reason daw, syempre yung bata ay nagkukwento din sa ibang kaklase niya. Sabi daw nung bata ay, uy, huwag tayong makinig dyan kay ma'am or pag may mali dyan si ma'am, sumbong natin. Kasi nga tayo naman yung magpapasahod dyan kina teachers eh. Diba sobrang parang ang lungkot lang na pakinggan na ganun yung thinking ng ating mga bata or ng mga students. They will not follow just because their parents are the one who teach them kung ano yung mga dapat gawin, diba? Kasi before, grabe talaga yung mga bata ay kahit kami, yung takot na takot talaga sa teacher or we always really follow them or listen to them. Minsan pa nga, mas pinapaniwalaan pa ng mga bata talaga yung mga teachers nila kaysa sa mga parents nila. But, providing that thinking of our students na ganyan, paano mo nade-develop yung respect, diba? Kung minsan, tas teachers palagi yung sinisisi ng mga maling ginagawa ng bata. Ano ba yung ugali mo? Yung ba natutunan mo sa teacher mo? Diba? Tapos, hindi lang naman talaga ang teacher ang dapat sisihin, even the student, at kung paano pinalaki ng mga parents yung mga anak nila. Kasi minsan, diba, it takes a village talaga to raise a child. So, hindi lang dapat teacher yung sinisisi. And dapat ikaw as a parent, you have to be responsible din kung ano man yung sinasabi natin sa mga bata natin. Kasi we might be the reason why they act that way or bakit nagiging ganun sila kapasaway pag nasa school na. And next is the principals or the school heads, of course. They should understand the need for change as well as the steps that have to be taken along the way. They should have in-depth knowledge about the plan change and of the implementation process. They should be accessible and willing to communicate with others involved in the process. Kasi, in-depth knowledge about the plan change and the implementation process. Kaya pag talaga, yung mga principals ay nag-o-observe talaga pag nagtuturo ka. Kasi for them to check talaga kung sumusunod ba yung mga teachers ko. Kasi yung teacher yung heart of the of the teaching process or the curriculum. Sila yung pinaka-center, sila yung nagde-deliver. And minsan wag nating mamasamain na kung may nag-observe din talaga ng mga school principal because they are there to see what's the reality or kung ano ba talaga yung totoong nangyayari. Kaya mga principals na yan, minsan meron silang observation na announce, meron ding unannounce. Kasi para makita nila kung ano ba talaga yung realidad na nangyayari inside the classroom. And then they must be committed to the change and be able to employ a variety of leadership strategies to meet the needs of features such as building on the strength of their staff, being willing to take risks, being positive about the plan change, and to use this optimism to motivate others. Kaya kung ikaw ang administrators or ikaw yung principal talaga, dapat ikaw ay number 1 na mag-a-agree dun sa pinapatupad ng DepEd. Kasi ikaw yung nagli-lead talaga sa mga teachers and you should have a positive thinking about it. Kahit sa teachers, kaya tayo, dapat we should have, since we are the one who will deliver the curriculum, dapat positive yung thinking natin about it. And we should be open-minded about what's the beauty or characteristics na meron ang curriculum na yan para mas maging successful ang isang, kung ano man yung pinapatupad, diba? And then, ito guys, parents. Kaya yung parents, dapat wag tayong lahat na lang ay isisi sa school kasi we have our own responsibility too. Parents need an opportunity to share their concerns and voice their support in an open forum. So I do love this type of schools guys kung saan yung parents talaga napaka-supportive dun sa specific school lalo na sa mga private school talaga ay have lots of sa mga AR schools or sa mga private schools marami din. Kasi I've been part of AR school na kung saan grabe yung support ng parents talaga. They are even voicing out their support tapos yung opinions nila or concern nila with the administrators. And this workshop should be conducted by teachers so that they may explain what is really going on in the classroom. Kaya 'di ba dun sa yung sa natin sa discussion natin about Magna Carta, there was a specific school na 'di ba yung principal nireklamo kasi dahil sa paniningil or there are lots of binabayaran. However, kahit na issue yon, the principal was safe kasi nga there was a meeting that was na ginawa ng mga parents and they all agree for that type of mga babayaran na yon. Kaya safe yung principal about it. However, dito nga siya bilang isang parent, we need to be one with the school. Dapat mag-raise tayo ng concerns natin and we need to voice our support. Hindi tayo yung tayo na nga yung part ng school, diba? Tapos tayo pa yung sumisira ng school. Kaya it's so sad to hear na about what happened last time na if you could just see the effect guys, na minsan kala natin yung kung ano-anong sinasabi natin about the school. But in the end, kung dyan ka graduate sa school na yan, tapos isa ka dun sa mga nagbigay ng negative na comment. But still, pag ikaw maging alumni, part ng alumni ng school, di ba? Tapos ganun na yung image, isa ka sumira doon. So, you've been, parang niloloko mo lang yung sarili mo, di ba? So, mas maganda pa rin na voice our concern. Tapos, kung may mga kamalian man na nangyari, you have to, don't direct sa teacher, ha? Huwag agad-agad mag-post whatsoever. Lalo na kayo as future educators. You need to train yourself now that you are still a student. And then we have here, guys, I do love this article from water4.org. You can read about this, but I'll just give you a short summary about it. Na isa daw sa predictor or accurate predictor daw ng academic achievement ng mga bata is not socioeconomic status nor how prestigious the school is that a child attends. The best predictor of student success is the extent to which families encourage learning at home and involve themselves in their child's education. Totoo yan. Kasi pag walang support talaga ng parents, kahit sobrang ganda pa yung school na yan, paano mo masasabing magkakaroon ng academic achievement yung bata, 'di ba? Kaya minsan mapapatanong ka na lang na bakit kaya yung batang yan? So in-enroll ko naman sa magandang school. Bayad ako ng tuition ng malaki-laki tapos ganito lang yung tutunan ng anak ko. Of course, we need to ask ourselves and as parent kung meron ba tayong naibigay or support sa ating mga bata. When parents are engaged in their children's school lives, students have the home support. Home support, guys, acknowledge the need to not only finish their assignment but also develop a lifelong love of learning. Kaya diba yung mga bata, kung napapansin natin sa movies, kung ang mga parents nila ay more on reading, who loves reading books, or nagkakaroon ng support, binibigyan ng book, o basahin mo to, maganda to. Diba, mas maganda talaga yung academic achievement ng isang bata. Kaysa kung ang learning ka ay hanggang school lang, tapos na ng achievement, ng assignment, diba? Is there schooling ba or education na pinoprovide ng parents? So, yung iba talaga, parents, ay nakikita ko din na sa mga private school talaga, sobrang supportive nung nanay. After ng school, after gumawa ng assignment, meron pang sasali pa ng, anong tawag nito? Kumon, diba? Para matrain pa talaga yung bata, para mas matuto pa. And then, viola, yung mga batang yun, sila pa yung sinasali talaga sa mga pa-contests, laging nananalo. Kasi andun yung support ng parents. However, too much support din na baka nape-pressure na yung bata. There's still a negative effect din. So, we need to balance din talaga kung ano yung pinapagawa ng mga bata sa natin. And then, we still have to let them enjoy the learning. Huwag natin silang sobrang ipilit or sobrang i-pressure. Kasi teachers who focus on parent engagement often see a profound change in their classroom. And then the more parents involved in their children's education, the better their entire class motivation, behavior, and grades become. Kasi walang resistance or even the teacher and the parents are working together to make sure na mas maganda yung performance ng estudyante. Hindi yung nagsisiraan pa yung parent tsaka teacher for each other. Imbis na sila yung magtulungan, di ba? Kasi sila yung will make sure na lifelong yung learning ng bata. And another is resource materials and facilities. No meaningful teaching and learning takes place without adequate resource materials. The government should supply schools with adequate resource materials such as textbooks, teaching aids, and stationery in order to enable teachers and learners to play their role satisfactorily in the curriculum implementation na process. And interest groups then, guys, these groups can influence implementation in the following ways. Provide the schools with financial resources to purchase required material. Tapos demand the inclusion of certain subjects in the curriculum. And influence the learners to reject courses they consider detrimental to the interest of the group. Kaya yung interest naman talaga din ng mga bata ay kailangan natin na pag-aralan din. And dapat natin i-consider kasi how will they learn for that specific subject kung ayaw naman talaga or wala din sa interest nila. Kaya that's one of the challenge na as a teachers na dapat nating mapukaw yung interest ng mga bata and making the lesson more interesting and more entertaining for them in a way na mas enjoy nila yung learning nila. And then of course, the school environment. Another factor that influences curriculum implementation concerns the particular circumstances of each school. Schools located in rich socioeconomic environments and those that have adequate human and material resources can implement the curriculum to an extent that would be difficult or impossible for schools in poor economic environment. And then, ang next, yun nga guys, mas maganda kung maganda talaga yung school. Kaya minsan, di ba, yung mga parent na, ano talaga, hinahangaan ko ay, even if nahihirapan sila pagbayad ng tuition, ay they wanted their students to learn more. Gusto pa rin nila i-enroll sa isang private school kasi alam nila na magiging successful yung mga anak nila doon. So, they will really try to do their best. So, lalo na pag nakikita nila na ang school environment na yan ay maganda sa kanilang mga anak. Next is the culture and ideology. Another factor that influences curriculum implementation concerns the particular circumstances of each school. Schools located in rich socio-economic environments and those that have adequate human and material resources can implement the curriculum to an extent that would be difficult or impossible for schools in poor economic environments. So, ayun, yung mga socio-economic environments, human and materials can implement. However, magkakaroon nga naman ng poor na implementation pag doon sa mga poor economic environment. Kasi sabi ko na yung kung saan man yung place yung bawa sa Manila ay maganda yung pag ng curriculum, K-12 curriculum. However, for those schools na andun sa mga bundok, 'di ba? Mahirapan din talaga ang teachers na sumunod or ipatupad lahat ng mga components or kung ano may nakikita dun sa curriculum competencies na yon, kung sila mismo ay nahihirapan din, 'di ba? Kaya malaki din talaga yung effect or nagiging factor din siya sa pagkakaroon ng curriculum implementation. Next is the assessment. In the form of examinations, influences curriculum tremendously. Due to the great value given to public examination certificates by communities and schools, teachers have tended to concentrate on subjects that promote academic excellence and it's little else. This action by the teacher obviously can affect the achievement of the broad goals and objectives of the curriculum. Kaya maganda na pinag-aralan natin sa assessment of learning kung gaano talaga kahalaga yung form of examination na implement ng tremendously doon sa curriculum. Kasi paano mo naman makikita, 'di ba, kung napapatupad or na-reach mo yung objectives mo doon sa isang subject kung sa assessment naman ay bagsak yung mga bata, 'di ba? And then due to the great value doon sa public examination, teachers have tended to concentrate on subjects. Halimbawa, doon sa doon sa 'di ba K-12 needs to be blamed. Dapat alamin din kung anong mga specific na mga topics talaga yung lumabas dun sa exam na yon or sa test na yon. Are you sure na tinuro ba talaga ng mga teachers yung mga specific na topics na yun or hindi? Kasi baka sisihin natin yung mga teacher tapos iba pa lang tinuro nila sa mga lumabas din talaga dun sa test na yon. And the final destination of any curriculum in the classroom, as we enter the classroom, is decision-making becomes the responsibility of the teachers talaga. Up to this point, curriculum implementation was discussed at the program level and decision-making was on a programmatic nature. Now, classroom teachers will take over and make decisions of a methodological nature. Yung decision-making talaga ng isang teacher. Kaya 'di ba doon sa mga approaches, it could be laissez-faire, hayaan ba laissez-faire or hayaan na lang mga teachers or doon tayo sa authoritarian type of approach. So, nasa administrators na yun at kung ano man yung type na curriculum na gusto nating i-implement. But still, kasi ang teachers ang nasa heart of the curriculum or sila yung mismo nagde-deliver, their decision-making becomes very important para sa maging successful ang implementation na yon. And this will be answering questions like, what objectives do I hope to accomplish as a result of instruction? Yun yung una mong itatanong sa sarili mo. And what topics or contents will I have to cover? Kailangan ko ba munang ituro to? Or kailangan mo na mag-review with this certain topic to make sure na maiintindihan nila yung next na topic ko? So, we discussed this naman sa assessment of learning. So, I hope na ma-integrate din natin siya dito sa subject ng the teacher and the school curriculum. Kasi ikaw, you'll be part of the evaluators or magiging part din kayo ng curriculum someday. And how do I evaluate the instruction to determine whether I have successfully achieved the objective? So, dito sa evaluate instruction, dito yung pumapasok yung mga assessment na binibigay natin sa mga bata natin on what type of quizzes ba or more on performances to make sure na nami-meet ba talaga natin yung curriculum. Kasi dapat merong regular checking or reflecting of what we are doing. Kung karapat-dapat pa ba na ipagpatuloy yung way of teaching natin sa mga bata. And instructional objectives or learning outcomes are statements indicating what do you want students to know, to do, and to value after having completed a lesson. These instructional objectives make it clear to teacher what changes they want students to achieve. Kaya mas maganda na before ka mag-start ng instruction mo ay you will share to your students the objectives of the discussion para alam nila kung saan sila magpo-focus or ano ba talagang gustong mangyari ng teacher at the end of the lesson. And help in choosing the appropriate learning experiences to achieve the changes or learning desired. Kaya maganda na tinatanong din yung mga students. Kaya nga diba, before we start this type of blended learning, ay tinatanong kayo kung ano bang gusto nyo, kung synchronous type of learning or asynchronous. And then, inform the students of what is expected of them. Of course, kasama yan siya sa objectives talaga before you start the lesson. Indicate what will be important in assessing the lesson. Kung bakit siya i-assess at kung para saan. Kasi mas maganda yung clear sa students kasi you are the one working with them. And in planning of instruction then guys, lesson plans are used, or it's very useful. A lesson plan is simply an outline prepared in advance of teaching so that time and materials will be used efficiently. Ideally, different lessons require different lesson plans and different students require different lesson plans. Plans yan guys. Kaya hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon ay sinusunod natin kung ano man yung lesson plan na meron yung ibang tao. We have to consider then kung ano yung student na meron tayo. Do you think yung specific lesson plan na to, is it achievable for this type of my students? Kaya ang teacher talaga, yung decision making talaga niya would mean a lot for the curriculum to become successful. And then we have here the following generic outline. Ito yung generic outline guys. Yung binigay ko sa inyong 4A's, yun yung ginagamit ng DepEd nowadays. But this one is for generic outline for the lesson plan. We have the objectives. Lagi yan. Yan ang pinaka-first on top. Objectives ng ating ilalesson natin. Prerequisite knowledge. Kaya merong konting review or review muna or recap about certain subject. Then, learning experiences then. So, dito yung nasa gitna kung paano ka makipag-usap sa kanila or paano mo ituturo sa kanila yung subject na yun. The instructional aids and resources. Then, the assignment, kung ano may papagawa ka ba. And then, the evaluation task or techniques. Kasi, of course, dapat from objectives pa lang ay connected lahat yan hanggang sa evaluation task na ibibigay mo sa mga estudyante to make sure that they really learn a lot for this subject. Okay guys, so that's all for this discussion. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you learn a lot and you will realize that who will be the one to blame. Is it really the K-12 program or the one who are implementers or yung mga factors na i-consider natin about to make sure na mas magiging successful ang ating curriculum na pinapatupad. Okay? So, it's not just about the DepEd or administrators. It should be about the teachers, the learners, and even the parents and the community. Kung meron man na support na nakukuha. So, you could have this information or to read more about this curriculum implementation, guys. You can read book of Reyes and Dizon on year 2015 from Curriculum Development nila na subject by Adriana Publishing Corporation. So, thank you so much and God bless.